So in UK, they you don't have free speech. You can't speak out against Israel, and you can't
or Arabs. You can't speak against Islam or Israel.
Islam or Israel. It's kind of ironic. And so they've outlawed this group called Palestinian Action, and they made it outlawed. You can't show support for this group because they're terrorists. Not the IDF, not the Mossad, not Israel, not the guy who's the head of Al Qaeda in Syria, but just the people of the Palestinian organization. They're the only terrorists. And so you can't show support for them or they'll arrest you in England. You know how they arrest you for hate speech, for making posts on Facebook? They're out of their minds in the UK. So,
do you realize, Jimmy, Guantanamo's still open and Al Qaeda we're installing in power now?
That's right.
There's people in Guantanamo were fighting with Al Qaeda, and we're friends with Al Qaeda now.
So these people decided to protest in the UK. So like over 500 of them came together, and most of them were over 70 years old. Like 100 of them were over 70 years old. And the police arrested 522 people in London over support for Palestinian Action. That's the name of that group. They're called Palestinian Action. So they decided to show support for it. And then the cops showed up and arrested 522 people.
It's about time.
And most of them that they arrested were over 70 years old. So when most of your cops are unarmed, condescending, whining twats, the only ones you can arrest are the peaceful ones. They don't want to get near the wandering machete gangs, but they will go get some people. So here it is. Middle East Eye says, activists in London explained why they were willing to risk arrest while protesting against the UK government's ban on the direct action group Palestinian Action. So there they all are. They're supporting that group Palestinian Action. And here, Middle East Eye went to interview these people and find out. And by the way, they're willing to risk prison. And if you thought British food was bad, imagine British prison food. Here we go.
In Parliament Square, UK policing is being put to the test. This is by far the largest protest we've seen against the ban on Palestine action. Organisers say over 1,000 signed up on Monday, ready to risk arrest. The ban came into place last month, meaning that public support is a criminal offence, punishable by up to 14 years in prison. Now, the Met have pledged to arrest anyone they believe to be breaking terrorism laws, threatening to push unprecedented numbers into a prison system already at 97.5% capacity.
My name's Nick. I'm a retired nurse. I worked for the NHS for many years. This is the first time that I've ever willingly considered breaking the law in order to stand up for something I believe in.
And why today?
Why today? Because if not today, when? When? We have to say in mass, in bulk, hundreds of us, thousands of us, enough is enough. Stop the genocide, stop the massacre.
And are you afraid?
I'm terrified. I'm absolutely terrified. I'm shaking. I'll be honest with you, I nearly cried earlier. The thought of doing something like this is just awful. But it's even more awful if we don't do it. I mean, I think to myself, I've seen things, not on the mass media, I've seen things that cannot ever be unseen. And if we don't protest about it, we're culpable.
I think that the government's prescription of Palestine Action as a terrorist organisation is unjust and immoral. I think they haven't caused any terror to anyone. They're non-violent people. They've caused damage to property, but that's not what terrorism is. And to prescribe it as a terror organisation is wrong, and I'm here to protest that.
And as a young person, you've got a bright future ahead of you. Do you not fear for your own safety?
I think that doesn't come into it too much. I mean, I'm here because I think the government is doing us wrong, and I think we need to stand up to it before, they're infringing on our rights by coming here and arresting all these people in front of us. And we need to be here to make sure that this can change.
Will you keep coming out, even if you are arrested today?
I hope so, yeah. Yeah, I think I would. Yeah, it's my first time here, but I think I would like to do it again.
Are you afraid?
Yeah, a little bit, I think I am, yeah. But it's worth it.
So telling me how long you've been here and how many arrests you've witnessed so far.
I mean, there have been a lot. It's just during the first hour, they started at the back. And I think that was pretty cowardly of him. But yeah, we've all come willing to be arrested. So whether or not they can, it's not on me to guess.
So what they need is to get some of the royals out there in that protest group. I mean, if you can risk putting them in a small cell with other people without them getting all handsy, if you know what I'm talking about. So they arrested 522 people who were protesting against the United Kingdom's recent decision to ban the group Palestine Action, a tally thought to include the highest ever recorded at a single protest in the British capital. The Metropolitan Police on Sunday updated its previous arrest tally of 466 and said all but one of the 522 arrests took place at a protest in central London's Parliament Square and were for displaying placards backing Palestinian Action. The protests were the latest in a series of rallies denouncing the British government's ban on Palestine Action under the Terrorism Act of 2000 on July 5th, days after the group took responsibility for a break-in at an Air Force base in southern England that caused an estimated £7 million of damage to 2 aircraft. The group said its activists were responding to the UK's indirect military support for Israel amid the war in Gaza. Huda Amori, co-founder of Palestine Action, said ahead of Saturday's protests that they would go down in our country's history as a momentous act of collective defiance of an unprecedented attack on our fundamental freedoms. The force said the average age of those arrested on Saturday was 54, with 6 teenagers, 97 aged in their 70s, and 15 octogenarians. Wow. Okay. Breaking.
Let's pay the NHS some money.
Heroic police officers have saved the public from a terrifying terrorist who is blind and disabled. But he has opinions the government dislikes. I can only assume these officers will be given medals for their bravery. So this
British cops, yeah, they've always been a joke in England. I mean, British cops have always been a joke.
And it's truly appropriate that their vests are yellow because they're cowards of the most annoying order. But here it is. Let's watch. They're arresting a blind handicapped guy. And again, not for a crime, but for a thought. These are thought crimes. You're not allowed to support a group of people who oppose a genocide. Isn't that amazing?
Smart not having guns over there, guys.
Yeah, good job not having guns. A blind activist. A blind disabled guy. Imagine being that cop. In a statement following the latest mass arrest, Home Secretary Yvette Cooper defended the government's decision. She said UK national security and public safety must always be our top priority.
Shut up.
How could you look at that blind, disabled guy and not feel threatened? Huh? Come on. The assessments are very clear. This is not a nonviolent organization. But critics, including the United Nations and groups such as Amnesty International and Greenpeace, have condemned the government's prescription as legal overreach and a threat to free speech. You think? If this was happening in another country, the UK government would be voicing grave concerns about freedom of speech and human rights, she said the Greenpeace spokesman. And she added the government had now sunk low enough to turn the Met into thought police, direct action into terrorism.
Well, what do you think would happen? Your entire government is scumbags. Your king's a piece of shit. Like, what do you think they're going to do? Not that?
So, Oliver Twist would be thrown in a cell right next to Charles Dickens if they were on the streets today. Police across the UK have made scores of similar arrests since July 5th, when being a member of Palestinian Action or supporting the group became a criminal offense, punishable by up to 14 years in prison. Police announced this week that the first 3 people had been charged in the English and Welsh criminal justice system with such backing following their arrests at a July 5th demonstration. So they're already prosecuting these people. Wow. This is the Metro Police arresting a terrorist. That's their terrorist. So they're doing this because she's a terrorist. That's what this is all about. So if you support Palestinian Action, you are now considered a terrorist.
Hey, you know the Rothschilds live in England, right? And that's where we got the Balfour Declaration and all that. So who do you think's in charge of their government?
So you think these two guys are humming the James Bond theme under their breath as they arrest her?
Probably.
So here they are, and Alex Karakastanis says a lot of people in the U.S. aren't aware, but the UK Labour government has declared supporting Palestine Action, a group trying to stop genocide by nonviolent direct action, to be a terrorism offense. So it's been arresting people for weeks for doing things like holding signs.
Yeah, well, have some balls and overthrow your country. That's what we do with Iran, right? When Iran does that, we go, hey, why don't you guys get together and overthrow your leadership?
Yeah.
Why don't you just do that, England, pussies?
I think the Palestine Action arrest will end up being one of the things Starmer is remembered for. Images of Quakers, the elderly, and the disabled arrested on terrorism charges, while a genocide rages on says everything you need to know about the people at the top of government.
The Rothschilds?
So, I mean, yeah, Keir Starmer, that always shiny and wet, blank-faced psycho, has a long list of things to be remembered for, but this might be the topper.
Well, covering up those Jimmy Savile crimes is up there. That's, Trump should call him up to get help covering up Epstein the way he covered up for Savile.
And if you'd like to hear us make jokes about this, you can hear me in Rutherford, New Jersey, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, Appleton, Wisconsin, South Bend, Indiana, Louisville, and Chicago. Coming up soon. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for those tickets.
Do you think, all the Ukrainian call boy scandal with Keir Starmer, right? Those 3 boys from Ukraine that one of them burned his car or something because he has a taste for call boys.
Oh, no kidding. I didn't know this.
Oh, yeah, that's been going on in the background, right around the time of his riding that train high on cocaine with...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well...
Keir Starmer's a puppet of the highest order.
Well, at least you can you can lose a little weight if you just do the Gaza.
Don't protest against this picture like a terrorist, by the way.
Gaza diet.
Thanks, Gaza Diet. Okay, over to stuff.
All right. Saver, I barely know her. Shucklemaster. F YouTube, the final what? The Federal Reserve family showcasing their black belts in the new boogeyman distraction, searching under our couches and closets for Israel, an adjective, while individuals at the BIS get away as always. Smedley Butler. Thank you, Smed. Of course it tastes like butter because they admitted they add natural flavor. That's from P. Walker. The phrase final, you know, what was taken, so they said final result. F YouTube. The end of our species, F YouTube. I can say end of the species, but not the end of the who. F YouTube. There's lizard people everywhere. Smedley Butler. All right, here we go. We're not done today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to get through a bunch of your super chats and Rumble rants. We need to do a juice cleanse, if you know what I mean, Bart Simp. We made butter in a lab. Why? I'll stick with the way we've done it for the last 10,000 years. Thanks. Seems to be working fine. No kidding, Taway. End of the Who, the British band. You anti-Semite. F YouTube. What's the carbon footprint of the factory operation, construction, transportation of ingredients to deliveries and of daily operating costs? Look at you, Celeste. Other articles and screen grabs on Twitter have commented on the giant vat behind the fake butter girl being labeled slop water. Oh, wow. Sounds yummy. Hey, you. So the largest owner of farmland in the country creates fake butter to cut down on the environmental footprint of farmland? Hobo Jesus. Or is that Hobo Jesus? So Bill Gates found a way to dump all the leftover AstraZeneca he bought. Larry Coldwater. 20 trillion tons of glacier ice have melted from the Arctic since 2000. F YouTube. Trump. No amount of DC takeover, Putin talks, Obama blame, and fake tariffs can mask the stench of the Epstein files. You cannot mask this with bluster. Release the names of the clients now. Julius. It's made with human cancer cells, but they put a hot chick in a hard hat, so I think I want some. Bill Gates belongs in prison at least. That yogi. Climate change is such a threat that we must expand the U.S. military. F. Let's see here. I am totally opposed to federalizing the militarizing our cities. This is not the way to handle crime. Hey, you're okay. Let's see here. This is all about Israel protests, nothing to do with crime. Seems like that, doesn't it? RC, is that Arkoff? I'm not buying that DC crime is at a 30-year low, but that's not what it's about. It's probably to enforce the Trump's federal anti-Semitism EO, and they won't arrest illegals, but will arrest citizens. Oh, let's see what this one is. Debbie Wasserman Schultz has her goons, the Awan brothers, shoot Seth Rich because the Awans were new to the job. Seth Rich had to be finished off in the emergency room. Sparky. Oh. First the homeless. Okay, next the low-income welfare. Then the unproductive lower-income class. Nothing fair here at all. Oh, all well moving along. John Zimmer. Right, John? You know, what is that? You know, we're seeing what they're doing to the most vulnerable among us, and, like, where are the programs to help them? We've got Big Pharma, though. Jimmy. Oh, I read that one, Shekel Master. I read those three. Okay, let's see here. Just a reminder, folks. If you say something snarky, or if you say something like crappy about our team, my moderators, they caution me. They caution me from saying something.
I have snorkelepsy. I can't handle it. I will have a seizure if you're too snarky.
I don't want to see that happening to you. I don't want to see that happening to you.
You know I can't have flashing lights or snark at me?
Right.
My snorkelepsy.
Let's see here. Slain Hope. Thank you, Slain Hope. Atticus Payne. You had Dane Wigington on the... Oh, I read that one. Okay. I can't believe it's not God's chosen people. Bart Simp. I read that one. Okay, here we go. Why isn't this bigger? I can't read that. Israel, close your window, Steph. LOL. Zoila Rosa. More super chats, please. All right. Sounds less crazy if you play the clip at 2 times the speed. F YouTube. Trump gives me heartburn. Free Palestine. Zoila Rosa. As part of the combating crime in D.C., will President Trump solve the Seth Rich murder? Sparky wants to know. Thank you, Spark.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's what I was thinking.
Right? When's that going to happen? I want to know. Everyone living in D.C., shiver me timbers, F-YouTube. Department of Justice, F-YouTube. Everyone should have known Trump was a conman when he made all those pardons, but called, all right, hold on. So I'm going to finish this and then I have something to say. Everyone should have known Trump was a conman when he made all those pardons, but called Edward Snowden a traitor to be hung. Epstein didn't kill himself. Seth Rich is an American hero. All right. So what does that make Joe Biden, who pardoned his entire family since whatever they started to do in 2014? All because of his drive from his golf course to the White House. I can't believe you quoted Mika Hitler, the amazing Blupkin. The slippy slide slope was graded by Jizrael. All right, F-Jew. Hey, Sparky. Some assume the Trump admin means with Ukraine when the talk about land swaps at Alaska summit. But is President Trump really meeting with President Putin to swap Alaska for Ukraine? Hope not. What? I know, right? The comedy writes itself these days. F, thank you. Philip, Big Balls is the grandson of an executed KGB agent. Thank you, F-YouTube. It's not just D.C. Trump sent National Guard to Los Angeles. This is a dangerous precedent of normalizing using troops locally like we're in Afghanistan. Danny, Trump had Doge Kid accosted. He looked at the henchman with his arms spread. Huge jacking needs done. Beautiful carjacking, getting him, my false flag. Unvaccinated guy. I don't think I did that justice. Let's see. Trump had Doge Kid accosted. He looked at the henchman with his arms spread. Huge jacking needs to be done. Beautiful carjacking. Get him, my false flag. All right. I tried on that one. Let's see. Debbie Washman Schultz had her goons, the A1 brothers. Oh, I read that one. First homeless, next low income. I read that one. Trump gigged his own ear, and we all fell for it. Vince McMahon would be so proud. After all, red creates green. Smedley. The Putin we call in sick and avoid Alaska. Maybe make Trump wait a day or two. Ha ha ha. Scapatsy. Thank you, Scapatsy. I suspect Trump is going to hose the Chinese in Washington. He's cleaning it up, just like Gavin cleared up the homeless when the Chinese visited there. P.W. Walker. Unvaccinated guy was right from the very beginning. The West has the pinworm and got a constant itch, but instead of a scratch, we are about to get BBC rammed up our Scapatsy. I need a nice blue background. I got to have you do a read. Julia says Gaza was the test case on the moving the homeless. They made the Gazans homeless and then demanded that they move. This is now being replicated in D.C. What's done abroad is eventually brought back here. Julius. The Putin will call in sick and avoid Alaska. Maybe make Trump wait a day or two. Oh, Scapatsy, I read that one. I suspect Trump is taking over D.C. policing with his Fed people to address internal D.C. crime and corruption. Hashtag big balls. Hashtag Seth Rich. Sandra, thank you.
I get that impression too. But,
right?
I mean,
What?
let everybody else in on it and don't make it. I hate this. They're going to do top secret shit. Tell everybody everything that happened. Stop being a liar.
So Sandra said, I suspect Trump is taking over D.C. policing with his Fed people to address internal D.C. crime and corruption. Let's see how that goes. Okay. I read that one. A kid at heart. As someone who's been in recovery, a big issue is that insurance companies no longer cover rehab for more than a few days. Unbelievable. It takes at least 30 days to have a fighting chance. 90 days is far better. I agree. That's tragic. The scourge of fentanyl was released upon America by the FDA when the FDA reclassified fentanyl from clinical use only to a take-home drug in order to thin the herd. Sparky. Ha-ha! Chat's labeled Jimmy so far left it hurts, and also too far to the right. That's why this show is so much fun to watch. No fried baloney. Sorry, the left in D.C. did this in the 70s. I know the lawyer who won the case which emptied St. Elizabeth Mental Institute. They can no longer hold homeless addicts against their will, right? Satsuma, I know that was a conversation that we started to have with Dr. Drew on the show. All right, Jimmy, that's a wrap on my chats, Mr. Jim, and I need you to do a read.
Okay.
All right, back to Jimmy.